Welcome to a new Daily Top AskReddit video. Today's topic:
voting eligible Americans who deliberately abstained in the 2024 general election. How are you feeling about your decision? They aren't on here. Why would they respond? It's a thread that will inevitably result in down votes for the target respondent. Hey, come on in so I can paint a target on your back. Voter turnout for this election was 58%, which is about on par with every presidential election. Around 40% of the country never cares about voting. I know several people who are in this 40% and ask them why, and it basically always comes down to the fact that they think their vote doesn't matter. Yup, my best friend is one of those people. He just doesn't vote because his vote doesn't matter, and it's not like who is the sitting president will impact my life in any way. He's a bit of a hermit. Usually whoever is sitting as president won't impact your life too much. This time might be a little different. I'm a blue person in a deep red state, my vote almost never matters, I still go vote anyways. Not really sure why, except it is our duty according to the Constitution. I live in Mississippi and my blue vote really doesn't count, yet I participate in all elections. I like to let 'em know I'm here and I'm watching them. Because if all the people like you who think their vote doesn't matter go vote, then suddenly it does matter. Any single vote is like a grain of sand on a beach, but when you add them all together, all the actual answers downvoted at the bottom of the thread. Come on guys, you may not like them, but people clicked this to read what they had to say, they should be at the top. Remember when Reddit cat, don't upvote for agreement, upvote for contribution to the conversation. Pepperidge Farm remembers. I remember voting in the first election that I could and being so excited. I believe it was Clinton and Bush. I voted regularly until I hit my 30s. I was working a ranch job and lived on property for about 15 years. I didn't vote at all during that time. I was just too tired and beat up. The idea of getting off work and heading straight to a polling place to stand in line for an hour while covered in horse and cow poo just sounded like a terrible idea. Then I went to night classes, got a better job, and suddenly was much more willing to get out and vote. I've participated in the last 3. I think people can forget or just don't know how hard it can be to care about politics when you are broke, hurting, and just plain exhausted. I think there are far more exhausted and beaten up non-voters that people realize. I agree with this. I used to proudly vote in every election, including local and school board elections, every year. Without fail. From age 18 until age 40. At 40 my husband died and suddenly things were just different. My priorities were different. My ability to handle things were different. I'm not as organized as I used to be. I do feel beaten down and exhausted. I do still vote on presidential elections and I try to vote in midterms as well. But unless there is a major issue that has caught my attention, I have neglected the local and sometimes even state elections. I just don't feel as plugged in as I used to, and I don't have the mental energy to force myself to be. I'll speak up, I didn't vote. My state is so incredibly red that it doesn't matter. Not just president either, many down ballot races don't even have Democrats on the ticket, it's just a Republican running unopposed. I fought hard during the last voting cycle when it looked like there was a possibility to get a Democrat in the legislature, asking all my friends and family to vote. It was the closest race we've had in a while and still ended up being something like 15% difference. As someone who also lives in a deeply red state, I still vote because I at least want other blue voters to know we are here. As I'm sure you know, if more of us showed up we could send a message and move the needle. It takes a long time for change. And we need people to show up. Yup. When I lived in a red state I voted for the same reason I keep a pride flag on my range bag. It lets people know they aren't alone and encourages further engagement. I'm in the deep south and our local county went blue. It's worth it, brother. The problem is if there are a lot of people think, my country is so X, don't bother, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Always vote. Regardless of the circumstances. Counterpoint, that's why you need to vote. Maybe it will be 14% next time, then 12%, then 10% and eventually blue. If the state is red because only Republicans vote and only Republicans vote because the state is red, what the hell do you expect? Not downvoting you because I get it and I appreciate you speaking up, but that's how it works. Oh, I came to read the comments thinking someone would answer that, but it's just full of people waiting to drag someone to shreds. You do realize that without supporting people to change for the better, there's no point in asking this anyway. But it's just full of people waiting to drag someone to shreds. These types of ask threads rarely get any real answers because of this. Honestly, I felt too uneducated on things. I definitely should have voted, and this election opened my eyes. Hey, thanks for answering, and for changing your mind on things. I didn't vote for president. I have a hard time with the whole lesser of two evils. However, now, I feel like absolute shit and regret that decision more than ever. I've made a promise to myself to never let that happen again. I appreciate your honesty. Midterms are coming in 2026. Hope to see you there. As someone who did vote for the lesser of two evils, thank you. As they say, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Closing parenthesis. The Simpsons said it best, my back is spineless. My belly is yellow. I'm the American non-voter. Quote, don't blame me, I voted for Kodos. Abortions for some, miniature American flags for others. I kind of wish I did, but I don't regret that decision. I usually vote, but SHTF on my end. Dog got attacked, I spent the night at the animal emergency vet. Thieves broke into my place. Battery went out on the car. Lost a family member. I barely had enough bandwidth to take care of myself, let alone vote. Maybe someone better than I could have held it together, but I was tapped. Holy shit, that's an awful week. You did not really deliberately abstain. Hope your dog is better. Skeptical smiley face. This doesn't apply to me, but I voted Hillary in 2016, Trump won. I didn't vote in 2020, Biden won. I voted Kamala in 2024, Trump won. I don't think I should vote. That's exactly what they want you to think. Here are some quotes from Reddit during the election campaign. I'm not afraid of Trump becoming a dictator. I would never vote for Trump, but I'm not sure Kamala will be any better. I don't believe anything in Project 2025 will be implemented. He's not afraid of it because the dictator line was a joke taken out of context. Also, Project 2025 isn't a Republican platform. It's a bunch of proposals for policy positions, some tame ones that will be supported and some less tame ones that won't. All because some of you thought Harris didn't deserve your vote, and because that she didn't go through the proper primary process. You let a good one get away. I don't believe anything in Project 2025 will be implemented. Voting for the leopards after leopards promised to not eat your face. Guess they crossed their fingers behind their backs. I feel like it's worse than that. The leopards told them, in writing, that they would eat their face. They chose to act like it wouldn't happen, even though the writing was quite literally on the wall. They legit didn't think Trump would win. They thought they could hold their righteous stance but still be protected from consequences. Just like in 2016. Terrible. I've always hated politics. I'm 99% liars just interested in gathering more wealth, promising whatever they need to promise regardless of if they have any intention of following through. I felt that until the two-party system is gone, votes don't matter because Dems and Republicans are two sides of the same coin. Apparently I was wrong. I didn't expect it to be this bad. Maybe I trusted the checks and balances too much. I'm not sure. I do know this is way worse than I ever imagined, and if I had known better I'd have done a lot different. If there's another opportunity I will 100% be voting. Like someone else said, your honesty is appreciated and hopefully encourages others to set aside their ego and speak out. I think a lot of people believe checks and balances would hold, forgetting democracy is ultimately protected by its citizens. I live in a blue county in a sea of red in our state, Kai. My wife and many of my friends didn't vote, I did though. But we also all knew it was moot, because we knew our county would be the only blue. It's almost pointless in that regard, and I honestly get why they didn't vote. I live in a slightly blue Florida county, and don't think anyone or anything I voted for passed, but I was still pleased to see that my county was still, barely, blue lol. I wish. I'm also a Floridian and my home county went red this election for the first time in decades. It was really disheartening. There are down ballot races that are important too, everything from Congress to school board. Thanks for voting, but it's shocking how many people either don't realize this or don't care. And often those down ballot races affect people's day-to-day lives in a much more significant way than the biggies, anyway. Overseas voter here. Ballot was redirected to wrong address the first time, then never arrived after the address was corrected, with plenty of time still left. All my other mail from the States got through just fine though. You did not deliberately abstain. Yeah, you just got fucked over. I'm in the US and my mail-in never showed up. I'm disabled, so I vote absentee. My boyfriend does as well, as he's my full-time caregiver. His didn't show up, either. Asked to have them resent. Still didn't show up the second time. I had to go pick up ballots from my local elections office on election day and fill them out and dropped off at a polling station. That was really hard with my disabilities. They wouldn't let him pick up or deliver for me, either. Still easier than waiting in line for 4 hours at the polls. It seemed really suspicious that we were being purposely thwarted, possibly by the mail carriers. Other disabled in the local FB group complained of the same, but the community dragged us for daring to think it was malicious, that we're trying to take hard-working Americans' jobs, just because sometimes things get lost in the mail, and they had so much mail to deliver at the time. Even some of them accusing us of being lazy fucks, and shouldn't be allowed to vote if we can't get to the polls, anyway. So nothing came of it. Well, I didn't deliberately abstain because my state sucks and hates people. But it was so bad here there weren't even Democratic candidates. Our House representative ran completely unopposed on the ballot. Yeah. For me specifically, 2 seats were missing a Democratic candidate, 1 was missing any candidate whatsoever, and the sheriff vote was just 1 guy on the list. I still voted Democrat all the way even if it was empty of a person's name. It's pretty bad, and you don't even know this happens until you live in a county like it, lol.